Hi everyone. So today we will be talking about how you can do really well in that phone interview. Okay, I would have done maybe hundreds of these interviews, and I can tell you from my experience a few tips and tricks that you can incorporate in your next phone interview, which I'm sure will get you some success. Okay, there are 6 main things that you need to really prepare for before your phone interview. Okay, what are these 6 things? The first is the company. Okay, ABC company has called you for a phone interview. You need to know everything about this ABC company. What does this ABC company do? So check them out on LinkedIn, check out their website, understand what business they are into, what kind of solutions do they provide, what services do they offer. So that really is important for you to have a very good understanding as to what this company is all about, okay? So that's the first thing. Second is you need to know who the interviewer is. So say someone called John Smith is called you for an interview from this ABC company. You need to know who this John Smith is. Is he from HR? Is he a recruiter? Is he the manager? What is he? What is his title? How long has he been with the company? What is his education background? How many years of experience does he have overall? So it always helps to know who you are interviewing with. Again, when you're interviewing with this person, if you have an opportunity during the conversation, you can say things like, yes, I did look up your profile on LinkedIn. It's very impressive. I find that it's quite interesting how you made that transition from, A job to B job, or something, that really piques your interest. You can talk about it during the interview. That tells the interviewer that you've done your research, that you've taken the interest, very important, that you've taken the interest to learn about him and to learn about the company. Okay, so these 2 points are very, very important. The third is the resume. Now, a lot of people, they just send the resume to the employer and they even forget the version of resume that they sent to this particular employer. So it's important to know what version of your resume you sent to this employer and have that resume open in front of you, okay, during the interview. Now, before the interview, you need to spend some time learning your resume. So what I mean by that is, you must have made some changes to make sure that your resume matches this particular job description that this employer wants. You would have, sort of tried to highlight some of your experience more than the others. So you need to know what that experience is, because a lot of chance that this question might come up during the interview. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did at that ABC company? How long were you there? Why did you leave that ABC company? You were there only for 2.5 years. Why did you leave that company to go to this other company? They'll ask you questions like that. So you need to prepare as to what you're going to say about your roles and responsibilities, at least for the past 4 to 5 years, or your experience that is more relevant to the position that you're interviewing for. So the fourth is the job description. You need to know the job description. Now, most cases, the job description will be very vague and very general. But it's always a good idea to sort of read the job description a few times to try and understand what they are looking for. So if the interviewer asks, what made you apply to this position? Or why are you interested in this job? You can say something like, look, I read this in the job description and this sounded interesting. This is in line with what my skill set is. So that's why I applied to this position. Because that's really important to understand the job description, right? So the next is an elevator pitch. Now, what is an elevator pitch? An elevator pitch is something where you are telling the employer about your background, your experience, and you're saying all of this in less than a minute. Okay, a quick overview about who you really are and why should they be interested in speaking with you, or why should they be interested in hiring you. Okay, now what goes on this elevator pitch? You would touch upon your education a little bit, even if your education is very different from your work experience. It just sort of, you have to touch upon your education. That's very important. And once you touch upon your education, you talk about your experience for the past 4 to 5 years and the experience that's more relevant to this particular job that you are interviewing for. So you need to make sure that you have a strong elevator pitch ready. Now, this elevator pitch, you have to sort of make it down as a script, memorize it, okay? Like just really get so good at it that even if someone wakes you up in the middle of the night and asks you, what are you all about? You're able to say it very naturally without making it sound like it's a script. So you need to spend some time with your elevator pitch. Okay, so they may ask you that question, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? That's an excellent question that employers love to ask because it's easy for them to ask that and just let the other person talk. So make sure you have a strong pitch ready, okay? Now the next is the kind of questions you would ask. Now, typically interviews, this is how it starts. They start with talking about their company. They start with talking about the position. They ask you some questions about your resume and about your experience, and then at the end you will have a chance to ask questions. They'll ask, do you have any questions of us? Now there are two main questions that really does well in these interviews. These are the two main questions. The first is you would ask the employer, who do you think is an ideal candidate for this position? Now this question always does well. So you can be rest assured that once you ask this question, they will be quite impressed. Okay, that always does well. But you have to ask it very naturally. You have to practice it and ask it very naturally. And the second question is this: once you have completed the interview and they said, thank you for your time and all of that, you basically ask this question. From everything that I have shared with you about my experience, do you think someone like me could be a good fit for this position? So when you ask that question, it does a lot of different things, okay? It tells the employer that you're very confident about the outcome. You don't care if it's negative or positive. You want to know what the interviewer thinks, and you're asking that question and putting the employer on the spot. But more important is the fact that you ask this question without expecting the right response. It's more like you asked it for the sake of asking it, right? So that's something for you to be mindful of, and it always does well to this question. Of course, you can ask questions about the job itself. If they haven't given you much information about what the job entails, you can ask about that. You can ask more about the company. You can talk about why this position was created. So these are very good questions to ask. Now, questions that you really have to avoid. These two main questions you really have to avoid at all costs. Okay, the first is about salary. Okay, salary, hourly rate, whatever it is. Don't talk about compensation in an interview. Okay, especially during the phone interview, the first level. Don't talk about it. If they don't bring it up, you don't bring it up. Okay. The second is training. Okay, even if the job description says training will be provided, you don't ask about that training in your phone interview. And I'm going to give you reasons for both of these. The salary question. So if you ask about the salary, it's a very common sense thing to know that if someone's asking me about salary when I'm interviewing them, I feel like they are more money motivated. They don't want to join my company for the opportunity itself that my company has to offer. They're more interested in money. Means if someone else, gives them maybe $5 more an hour or gives them $5,000 more in salary, they will just jump to that position right off the bat, which is what's running in my mind as an interviewer. Okay. The second is training. Training, even if the job description says free training provided, the reason you don't ask is the minute you ask about training, as an interviewer, I'm thinking, oh, maybe this person doesn't have the skill set that he said he has. Maybe, he needs a lot of formal training before he can start to become productive. So maybe I'm going to go after this other candidate who didn't ask about training, who seemed a little bit more confident about his skill set. So refrain from asking these two questions, which is not going to do very well. Now, in another video, when I'm talking about in-person interviews and everything, I will be talking about how you can handle that money question, which is very important. It will make or break your interview. So just look out for my video on that, okay? So this is what you need to do to prepare yourself before your phone interview. Now, on the day of the phone interview, that's also really important. Treat it like a real interview. What I mean by that is treat it like an interview where you have to get up and get ready and you have to go and meet with the interviewer in person. The reason why I say that is because you want to get into that mindset of doing really well in this phone interview. So unless you're in that mindset, that is, you're dressed as if you're going out there for an interview, you spend some time, really practicing your elevator pitch, you've stood in front of the mirror, you've practiced, and you're in that mindset. So that's really important, for a phone interview. Okay, and be in a room that is quiet. Okay, if you've got kids in the house, make sure they are occupied with something else, and you are in a very quiet room corner, and you're trying to take this interview. And this, I know it's a no-brainer to think this, but so many times I've had interviews where the person is actually out on the street where it's windy and he's trying to take an interview, or he's in his home and his kids in the background. I can hear it. It's not a good idea. Okay, you're not going to have a very productive, good interview, because it tells me that you couldn't take the effort to be in a quiet place. I mean, I'm not trying to undermine the other person's family or kids. Kids will be kids. You can't do anything about that, but you need to make sure. As an interviewer, I'm thinking, you couldn't find the time to kind of be in a quiet space. So tomorrow when you say you're going to work from home or something, I know you're not going to get any work done, for example. That's what's running in my head, right? So just be a little mindful of that. The third important thing on the day of the interview or during your interview is to really stand up and talk, or just have a light pace around the room if you have the space in your room. The reason why I say again that is your voice and your energy levels are very different when you're standing up and speaking. And when you have a light smile on your face when you're talking, the other person can actually sense it and feel it. As opposed to just sitting on the couch and slouching and you're grumpy with a serious face when you talk, your energy levels don't come out very well on the phone. Okay, so try that, and it's actually really powerful. So that's that. And the last but not the least, try not to chew anything when you are in an interview. I know these things may sound very silly, but I've had this experience numerous times when either they are chewing onto some food or some gum or whatever it is, and you may think the other person can't hear it on the phone, but we can hear everything on the phone. So just try not to do that as well. Now you follow all of these things to the T. Talk about the company, research the company, research the interviewer, know your resume in and out, read the job description, know what it is about, and have something to say about it. Have these questions ready, the two main questions I talked about and questions about the team or the company. Try not to ask more than 3 questions at the max. The more questions you have is just, going to put the other person off a little bit. But because you need to remember that the phone interview is to just check if you are who you say you are in your resume. They just want to do like a quick check on this person. This is what I think this person is going to be. Looking at the resume, I just want to quickly check by talking to this person on the phone, is this the same person, or do you communicate well? Are you able to sort of tell me all your experience in a way that's easily understandable, and do you really have the experience you say you have? So this was my video on phone interviews. I really hope you find it useful. I would love to hear your comments on how you were able to apply each of these, what kind of success you had with the phone interview. So I look forward to hearing from all of you. Just drop in a comment, and good luck.